The draft is a week away and speculation is reaching white-hot levels. The Raiders have met with several prospective QBs before the draft. We're gonna look at the pros and cons of the top prospects actually attainable for the Raiders at pick 13. And I'll give my brutally honest take on what the Raiders should do at the end of the video. Let's get right into it. Second-year quarterback Aiden O'Connell recently spoke at a press conference and he was asked about competing this year at the quarterback position.
You know, I'm definitely not used to just being the guy going into the season, and so I definitely think it's probably more foreign for that to happen based on the years of me playing football since high school. It'd be more foreign to me being the unquestioned starter rather than competing.
O'Connell has had to battle to become the starter during his college career at Purdue, so going through a quarterback competition is not unusual for him. However, things are going to be different this year. The Raiders just signed Gardner Minshew to a fat contract of $25 million. About $15 million of that is guaranteed. Aiden O'Connell seems like a nice guy, seems like a good kid, but just because he smiles and seems wholesome doesn't mean he should automatically be the starting quarterback of the Raiders. And if we're going to be completely honest here, if we're going to be 100% real, the Raiders brought in Gardner Minshew to be the starting quarterback if they don't draft one in 2024. That's the facts. That's obvious when you look at the money. They are not going to pay Gardner Minshew $15 million to ride the bench while Aiden O'Connell starts. It seemed quite obvious the Raiders were not comfortable rolling with Aiden O'Connell this year as an emergency plan if they don't draft a quarterback, and that is the reason why they brought in Gardner Minshew in the first place. The only way I see Aiden O'Connell starting this year at all whatsoever is if the Raiders don't draft a quarterback at all and Gardner Minshew gets injured. Other than that, I can't envision a scenario where he's the starter, unfortunately. The Raiders are meeting with tons of prospects and they're having top 30 visits. A top 30 visit, in case you don't know, is a situation where you meet with the player at your facility. These pre-draft visits are important because each franchise only gets 30 of them, and the Raiders have used these 30 visits on a lot of quarterbacks. According to Walter Payton Football, they've met with Bo Nix on a top 30 visit, Michael Penix Jr. on a top 30 visit, along with quarterback Jordan Travis of Florida State. But what's interesting about this is Jaden Daniels, Drake May, JJ McCarthy, and also Joe Milton, the quarterback out of Tennessee. All of these guys have not met with the Raiders on a top 30 visit. They just went to their pro day or talked with them at the combine, but they did not have an official top 30 visit with these guys. This list did not include the top 30 visit with Spencer Rattler. According to NFL insider Jordan Scholes, the Raiders met with Spencer Rattler before his pro day. So if you are going to take these top 30 visits seriously, that means the Raiders have narrowed it down to Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr., and then you got Jordan Travis and Spencer Rattler, who are more projected to be day 2 picks. The top quarterbacks in the draft are all going to be taken 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what everybody is mocking. And this makes sense since the Raiders have not had top 30 visits with any of the top 4 quarterbacks in the draft. People like Jaden Daniels, JJ McCarthy, Drake May, and then you have Adam Schefter letting us know where Jaden Daniels is going to go.
I think you go. I think you go get those Jaden Daniels jerseys. I think you go get them.
So it seems like Jaden Daniels is a lock to go to the Commanders. We'll see if there's a draft day surprise. But the reason why I am explaining this to you is because if the Raiders are going to draft a quarterback who is gonna be their franchise guy in 2024, it has now been narrowed down to 2 people only. Quarterback Michael Penix Jr. out of Washington and also Bo Nix, the Oregon Duck. Who should the Raiders choose? The hype around Michael Penix Jr. has been building lately.
The best deep ball thrower, the most accurate deep ball thrower in college football last year. He throws such a tight spiral. He ran a 4.5 at his pro day, which was a huge plus.
You also have former Giants quarterback and the dad of Chris Sims, Phil Sims, talking a lot about the Washington Husky prospect.
His throwing is unbelievable. One of the best just pure throwers that maybe I've ever seen. I mean, he can just make every throw.
So Michael Penix Jr. has the best deep ball in this class, may be overall the best thrower in this entire class. Why is he slipping? Why is he not projected to go number 2, number 3, number 4 overall? Why is he projected to slip and be available when the Raiders are drafting at pick 13? First off, Michael Penix Jr. has medical issues. Insiders claim that this was cleared up at the combine, that he had good news on his medical evaluations at the NFL combine, but it is hard to ignore that the 24-year-old quarterback, when he was at Indiana, tore his ACL his freshman year, then tore his ACL again the following year. Dealing with those injury issues and being older than prospects like Drake May and JJ McCarthy are going to tank your draft stock. He had great wide receivers at Washington like Odunze, and maybe that's why he was able to be inaccurate at times. This is an alarming stat for Mr. Michael Penix Jr. He had a 22.9% uncatchable and accurate pass rate, the highest in the entire draft class. So the guy has missed easy throws, and even though he ran a 4.5 40-yard dash, the guy has not shown mobility throughout his college career, and he tends to crack under pressure. Maybe his injuries have made him reluctant to run with the football or scramble. He only scrambled and rushed for yards 22 times in 707 dropbacks over his final 2 seasons. If you do not want a dual threat quarterback, if you only want a true pocket passer and you're not concerned about the medical issues, then Michael Penix Jr. is probably your guy. I think his deep ball is what's very appealing, especially when you have wide receivers like Devontae Adams. He could excel well with the Raiders if they want to go this route, but there is going to be some competition for Michael Penix Jr. He has had pre-draft visits with the Giants, the Falcons. I don't think they're going to do that since they have Kirk Cousins, and the Broncos and the Steelers along with the Raiders. You also have NFL draft analyst Daniel Jeremiah projecting that the Raiders would select Michael Penix Jr. with pick 13 in the first round.
Okay, let me imagine going to the mini camp after the draft's over, and I'm the Las Vegas Raiders, and I've got Gardner Minshew, I've got Aiden O'Connell, and I've got this guy, Michael Penix, lining up to throw. It's not close in terms of how much more ability he has and what he can do with his arm.
If they decide he's a fit, maybe Daniel Jeremiah is onto something and the Raiders will just pull the trigger. Vic Tafur of The Athletic, a longtime reporter of the Raiders, has said that there are quiet whispers that the Raiders may just take Michael Penix Jr. with the 13th pick in the overall draft. So you got Daniel Jeremiah saying this and Vic Tafur at the same time. We'll see on draft night if they're right. One quarterback who has been projected to fall in the second round is the Oregon Duck Bo Nix. This guy is probably the most slept on quarterback. Second in passing yards last year, second in touchdowns, and threw only 3 interceptions for the 2023 season. The guy had insane numbers going up against tough competition. We have heard rumblings that the Denver Broncos are interested in this guy. The Raiders had a top 30 visit with him, just like they did with Michael Penix Jr., and now you have the Giants having a visit with Bo Nix. This is insane news. If the Raiders or the Broncos are a destination for Bo Nix at pick 12, at pick 13, well, the Giants are picking at number 6. They're definitely going to have a better opportunity of selecting the guy, and that's another quarterback off the board. Could make the Broncos or the Raiders have to jump up to pick the 5th quarterback available. I honestly do not understand why this guy is being slept on. He was one of the most accurate quarterbacks in college football last year. He had the highest adjusted completion percentage and still was incredibly accurate while throwing on the run. That is going to be huge in the NFL when you got these fast, athletic defenders like Max Crosby running after you. What's funny is the guy is kind of the opposite of Michael Penix Jr. He struggled with the deep ball. He struggled on passes where he had to put some extra velocity on it. But unlike Michael Penix Jr., he's incredibly accurate on the short throws, on the intermediate throws, and he's a mobile guy, dual threat quarterback who will run the football, will do design runs, and isn't afraid to take some hits if he has to. The biggest knock on Bo Nix is people think he was a product of the Oregon Ducks offense, and 30% of his throws were behind the line of scrimmage. They were screens, short passes. But I think the guy has displayed incredible athletic ability. I think he's a guy who can extend plays and can take that to the NFL level, and I think that's something that's very valuable that you cannot necessarily coach. The Denver Broncos are eyeing this guy, and I would just absolutely love if the Raiders snag this dude away from Sean Sean Payton. That would make my freaking year. So I got 2 points for my brutally honest take about the Raiders in the 2024 NFL draft. And also, let me just tell you that I will be live with my co-producer Dial Up Audrey during the 2024 NFL draft. So make sure you tune in to this channel and let's react in real time to these crazy draft picks. But you had Daniel Jeremiah on Raider Nation Radio, and he was saying that he would not be surprised if the Raiders selected an offensive lineman at pick 13 and then maybe tried to trade up into the back half of the first round, maybe the early second round. Remember, the Titans were able to trade up and grab Will Levis last year at the top of the second round. I think that's a steal personally, but one part of my brutally honest take is I would not be surprised, and I actually think this is more likely, that the Raiders will not select a quarterback in the entire NFL draft at all. If they really have some faith in Aiden O'Connell, like some fans do believe, and clearly they have faith in Gardner Minshew, they're giving him $15 million, then it makes sense that they would not waste draft capital adding another quarterback. Most teams these days don't even keep 3 quarterbacks on the roster. So unfortunately, it could be the best offensive tackle or cornerback at pick 13 for the Raiders. That's my first brutally honest hot take. The second, if they do choose a quarterback, I think they're picking Bo Nix. The only thing they need to watch out for is if the Denver Broncos select him first, maybe they'll trade up ahead of the Denver Broncos. But the offensive coordinator of the Raiders recently worked with Justin Fields. He ran the football a ton. The Raiders appear to be going into a direction where they want a mobile quarterback, and I think this is what they should do, especially if they're going to be a run-first football team. You're going to want to utilize that read option. Have your quarterback be a serious threat with his legs in the red zone. Bo Nix fits that. And I also think the fact that the Raiders have Anthony Brown, former Ravens quarterback, on their roster shows that they're looking to go into a dual threat quarterback direction. I don't know if it's for the best. I don't know if it's for the worst, but reading between the lines, this is what I'm seeing. Draft night is just a week away. Make sure you join me live on this channel to react in real time. And we do have a special film coming out. I might release it before the draft. I might release it after, but it's about a special moment in Raiders history, and I freaking know you're gonna love it. I will give you a clue. It is a recent moment in Raiders history and involves some of my favorite people, but also involves somebody I despise. And no, it is not genius Josh McDaniels. Comment below what you think the film could possibly be about. My name is Wi-Fi Willie. Peace out, and I hope you have a good one.